All right, I hope you're having fun with your fonts. Hopefully you've experimented a little bit, you're getting comfortable with it. Now, what about changing the font size? Well, let's go and see how to do that. I'm going to flip back over to my code here. I'm going to start off by throwing in a font size for the first paragraph, the paragraph that we designated as Monaco. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to throw on an extra property into the inline CSS that I see inside the opening paragraph tag. I will drop my cursor after the ending semicolon there, after Monaco, throw in a space, and then I'm going to throw in the property font-size. There we go. So hopefully you kind of catch the pattern here, font-family, font-size. And then follow that by a full colon and then a space. And then I would throw in some sort of a value. For instance, I'm going to try throwing in, maybe I'll try 10. Now, I'm going to use points, by the way. So 10 pt followed by a semicolon. Now, I'm just going to put the brakes on for a second because I do want to let you know that there's kind of a wide range of units of measurement that I can work with when I'm setting font sizes. For example, we can use points, we can use pixels, centimeters, millimeters, inches, there's percentage, there's ems, there's a whole bunch of them. And I'm going to save that conversation for a little while later. For now, I'm sticking with points because, I mean, you and I use points to size up text all the time, right? We understand points. We know roughly how large 10 point is, right? So I'm going to stick with that for now for my example, and then we'll get into more detail later on. Lots of great stuff to talk about. There it is. I've thrown it in, font-size 10 point. Go ahead and save your work if you like, and you can flip back over to your browser and refresh Control-Command-R. And there's my change. I can see that this first paragraph has now shrunk down, which is wonderful. So that's pretty cool. But I might be in a situation where I really don't know what size I want to use. So it might require a few trips back and forth between your code and your browser. Maybe I'll try 8 point, save it and refresh it, something like that. Maybe that's what I'm after. Or, maybe that's getting a little too small. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error, I guess. And that's really all part and parcel with web design. Okay, so there's setting the font size for a paragraph, but what if I wanted to change the font size for this yellow highlighted text? Well, if you are thinking what I'm thinking, what we'll have to do is we'll have to go and find that span element. Remember, we threw the span in there, and that's what's giving us the italics, the bold, the yellow background. And what I would do is I would simply throw in the font-size property into the inline CSS that appears inside the span's opening tag. So quite literally, I would look for the last property. It doesn't have to go at the end, but usually I stick them on the end. Look for the last property, look for his closing semicolon, throw in my cursor, stick a space in there, and then type in font-size directly inside this opening span tag. Full colon space, and then throw in a value. Now you can use whatever value you want. Maybe I will try 14 point. Don't forget your closing semicolon. Always important. Save this guy up. Back over to your browser and refresh. There we go. So that's 14 point. And my paragraph that sort of surrounds the span, that was 8 point, wasn't it? Let me just go back. Yeah, that's 8 point. So there you go. That gives you kind of a contrast there. Now, in the previous exercise, I showed you how you could set fonts for specific paragraphs. I showed you how you could set fonts within spans. We did that as well. And then I also talked about setting fonts for your entire document. I believe I used the phrase document-wide fonts. So we can do the same thing with our font sizes as well. So check this out. I'm going to go back to my code. And I'm going to go look for my opening body tag, this guy right there. And there's, of course, all of my inline formatting. And what I can do is I can force a font size if I want. So in other words, that font size would be applied to all of the text inside my document. Let's try it out. So I'm going to throw in a space here after the semicolon, after Verdana. I'm going to type in font-size, full colon space, and then let's see, I'm going to try 10 point this time around. Go ahead and throw a value in there. Don't forget your closing semicolon. Save this guy up, and then back over your browser and refresh. There we go. All right, now, what's interesting to note here, first of all, notice that all of my paragraphs, all of my unformatted paragraphs, now resized. They're all sized down to 10 point, which is great. But there's no effect on the first paragraph. There's already some formatting at play happening in there. And again, I'm foreshadowing on the cascading effect of CSS. So we'll get to that later, but just mentioning it here. And also notice that the heading 1s and heading 2s did not size down to 10 point. They shrunk a little bit. I don't know if you caught that or not, but they didn't shrink all the way down to 10 point. That's because heading 1s and heading 2s have some default formatting already built into them, and we'll talk more about that in just a little while. But more importantly, that's how you can set your font size. Again, just using the font-size property. You can use them on paragraphs, you can apply them using spans, or of course, you can apply them site-wide.